Okay, we're live. Welcome to another Nerd Stalker interview. Good morning. This is Greg Gloria, aka Social Greg on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network. Today, I'm again pleased to talk with Nick Brazzi of Lynda.com, live from Carpinteria Studios there here on Google Plus. He's going to talk about one of many new courses he's released just recently, which includes speeding up your Mac, which I think is very appropriate for a lot of Mac users like because I've noticed as I've had this Mac, it's slowed down quite a bit, and I think he'll talk about a little bit how that course could help you speed up your Mac, as well as some other new courses on security that he's going to talk about as well. So a little bit about Nick. He's a staff author at lynda.com, developing cutting-edge training courses. And before that, he was a software trainer and instruction designer for Apple. So he knows Apple products fairly well, and a regular guest speaker for several Macintosh user groups, in the general area. So, anyway, good morning, Nick, and thanks for joining us here live from Carpinteria on Nerd Soccer.
Morning, Greg. Thanks.
Hey, well, it's been a while. We haven't done this since last year, sometimes. So I know you've been a busy person.
I have been. Yeah. Glad we could catch up.
So, let's talk about some of the new courses that you've developed since we last talked.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the Speeding Up Your Mac course, which is something that released back in December, but you and I didn't have a chance to talk about that until now. But it's a course that I'm really excited about. We've got another course on the library about speeding up a desktop PC. So there's kind of this pair of courses. It's really like you say, after you use a computer for years, eventually you start to see it crawl a little bit, not moving as fast as it did fresh out of the box. And it's all about what you can do to kind of diagnose it and make some changes to speed it up.
So give us some of the listeners out there kind of the course outline of how you kind of help them with this. And I saw a little bit of the outline, but you might want to describe a little bit about it.
Well, a big thing for me and a way I kick off the course is being able to recognize where the issue is. And there's really three main components of your computer that affect the speed. There's the processor, there's the RAM, and there's the speed of your hard drive. And I immediately start by trying to equate those two components in your own brain. If I ask you to give me, what's the answer to 2 plus 2? You know how to do that because that's a program that was installed in your brain in elementary school. So it's on your hard drive, it's easily accessible. You can do it quickly because your ability to do math, your processor speed, 2 plus 2 is no big deal. And the RAM is sort of like your short-term memory. If I asked you, give me 2 plus 2, multiply that by 5, give me the square root and divide it by 3, at a certain point you can't keep up because you can't keep those numbers in your head. And that equates to the RAM in your computer. So by thinking about what component in your brain or what component in your computer might be tasked by a certain operation, you can start to figure out why certain things are going slowly.
That's pretty useful because I the way you've kind of put that, because that's very true, because after we get our Macs, there's nothing really preloaded except the standard Mac stuff, right? So,
Sure.
We'll start to add Photoshop if you're a creative and any of the InDesign, Illustrator type stuff from the Creative Suite. And then if you're a video person, you probably put some of the Adobe Premiere or Final Cut Pro on there. And then suddenly the world becomes a little bit complicated, right?
You're challenging that computer. And I think a big part is you can buy a brand new computer, install Photoshop, and everything's great. But in 3 years, Photoshop will evolve. Photoshop will be more powerful, and it'll be more demanding on a system. So a processor that's great for Photoshop 1 year may not be so great for Photoshop 5 years later. And it's important to start recognizing where the demands are.
Yeah, you got me thinking about another thing when you talked a little bit about installing the software and stuff like that. Is that, in your class, do you go through other party software that could even help with this with this issue with speed?
Absolutely. I think a lot of it is diagnosing it. Like, now that you have a general idea of the components that affect the speed, well, okay, I'm having this particular speed issue. Is it a problem with my hard drive speed, or is it a problem with my RAM? and I recommend some tools that you can use to help diagnose that. There's a great utility made by Blackmagic. I think it's just called the disk speed utility, and it's geared towards video production people. So it gives you information that's really relevant to video production people, but for anybody, it gives you a rating on how fast your hard drive is. And it's a free tool, and I recommend it in the course. And it's a great way to see, okay, is my hard drive fast enough for this thing that I'm trying to do?
Mm.
And of course, even just first-party utilities, the disk utility that comes in OS 10 is a very important tool for diagnosing stuff like this as well. So there's
Wow.
little bits of information like that in the course.
Yeah, I just got my Blackmagic camera, and then I saw that disk
Oh, yeah.
utility, and I opened it up, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is something I
Yeah.
should have had long, long time ago. So I'm glad you covered that one, because that is a good utility, actually.
It's really important for people doing video and high-scale audio production to really know, is my hard drive fast enough for this job?
Right. Now, I mean, there's like with the hard drive, it's hardware dependent, right? And you say about disk speed. Is there ways you could, without replacing the whole hard drive again, tune up your hard drive?
To a certain extent, but not too far. I mean, your hard drive will only go as fast as it'll go. But there's this old wisdom that's always been passed around that you should never fill up the last 10% of a hard drive. Because when you have a hard drive that's completely full, it affects the speed. And I can't tell you the science behind it, but that's just what people have grown used to. So identifying how big your hard drive is, make sure you don't dip into that last 10%, really keeps it much more healthy.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I've also, in the last probably year, invested into a lot of external USB drives to archive a lot of stuff, and to use some of the utilities that Apple gives you as well to help do that, like Time Machine it and a couple other things. So yeah, that's useful. Yeah, go
It's
ahead.
great
Sorry.
thinking about stuff like backups and archive, because generally you don't care about speed when it comes to a backup. You can let the backup run overnight. So your backup drive, you can save money by buying a reliable but slow hard drive. But for your video work, you're going to have to spend more money to get a very fast hard drive.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
use the right equipment for the right job.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you guys kind of point that out in this course, because I think there's just some wisdom guidance, and it's great that it's centralized in a course from Lynda.com like this, because I think you can get a lot of stuff out of it. In how long is this course? Is it just a single viewing?
Yeah, I think it's about a 3-hour course. I've got the information right here. Oh no, it's
Okay.
an hour and a half.
Oh,
Shorter than
wow.
I remembered it. Yeah, so it's a
All
pretty
right.
quick course.
No, that's great, because I think in an hour and a half you could get just a ton of wisdom, and it's a great investment of your time, it sounds like. So
Yeah,
that's good.
two lunch breaks, you could probably digest it all.
And get a faster Mac on top of that. That's great. Hey, let's talk about some of the newer courses other newer courses that you've kind of talked to me offline about. I'd like to hear about that.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I was mentioning earlier that I'm really excited about the a pair of courses that I just released. One course called iPhone and iPad Security Fundamentals, and then a very similar course for Android phone and tablet security. And it's really about that, I just got a smartphone or I just got a tablet, and what can I do to protect it so that my data doesn't get stolen or my device doesn't get stolen? It's frankly shocking how many people I talk to who don't even have a passcode lock on their phone,
Oh my
just out
gosh.
of convenience.
Right.
Uh, so, these courses start with please, please, please set a passcode lock, but then go into so many other things you can do to protect your information, or even to protect the device if it ever gets lost or stolen.
And yeah, we're talking mobile devices, not only the phone but tablets as well, and
Right.
Android and iOS, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of
Wow.
those.
Well, yeah, yeah. Tell us a little bit about how long are those courses, Nick?
I actually have those open here as well. They're
Thank
both
you.
a little under 2 hours.
Okay,
Um,
so a couple lunch breaks again.
yeah, and there's lots of little nuggets. As I go into these courses, I start to do a lot of research, and doing the research on security for mobile devices was very eye-opening and surprising. A lot of people don't know this, but there is, on an iPhone, it stores information about places that you physically visit. It records the GPS locations of places you go. So if I stole your phone and you didn't have a passcode lock on it, I could go into the settings on your phone and I can see Greg was at this person's house, Greg was at the grocery store, Greg went to the mall. I could see places that you physically went over the past few days.
Oh my gosh.
There's something similar on Android, but you would need access to that person's Google account.
Right.
So there's really surprising little things that, okay, protect your device, protect your passwords, protect this information, shut off those features if you don't want them to be active, little nuggets like that.
Well, just in general, with a lot of these courses, a lot of the effort you guys put at lynda.com to put these courses together, does it take a lot of prep time for something like this for you? Or, I guess it depends on your background, I guess, huh?
It does, yeah, and I think you really have to respect that prep time. And it's, I'm not just in the recording booth every single week. I'm spending several weeks on any course just to make sure that I have all the information that's going to be relevant to the users. A big chunk of that comes from my own experience and my own memory, but another chunk of it comes from research. And then something that's really huge for me is organizing it, putting it in a way that people will understand, from any level of knowledge, and anticipating questions that people might have. Researching a course for me is sort of like cleaning up a messy room and getting it all so organized that somebody can walk into that room and find the information that they need. It's a satisfying thing, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I think that just recently I'm starting to get into a little bit more video and just the you had a great course on video production, by the way. If you guys need to do that, Nick has another course on video video workflow. But you're talking about just a typical workflow of a day or of an article or what you guys do at lynda.com, which is put courses together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You would never write a book and publish that first draft, So none of our authors just jump into the recording booth and record the thing. They write, not exactly a word-for-word script, but they'll write something and revise it, and then do a few takes in the booth until we get just the right thing. So there's certainly plenty of preparation that comes before actually recording a course.
Well, this is good. I appreciate your time. I know you're pretty busy. We'll pretty much close off the interview, but I know you have some more courses in the next quarter coming up, and we're going to be excited about that. So we'll catch up with you next quarter on how to do that, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, doing a lot of stuff with mobile devices, iOS, Android, stuff like that. And as always, if you look at the big new software releases on the horizon, those are things that are on our radar and things that we're watching and playing around with the betas so that we're ready that when they release, we can put out training content.
Yeah, well, I think no, you guys do a great job, and the Nerd Stalker audience as well as the Nerd Stalker media staff people appreciate what you guys do. So keep on doing what you do, and you guys do it well. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Lynda just had a pretty big milestone. We hit 300,000 individual subscribers. And clearly we get a lot of business through enterprise, through big businesses, through schools, but this is simply the individual people who go to lynda.com and set up a membership just hit 300,000. So we're doing pretty good lately and really catching a lot of acceleration, and I think people are getting a lot out of it.
And you should go onto the website because they talk a little bit about the history. If anyone's watching this right now, and just see the migration where Lynda actually came from, and as technology's grown, so has lynda.com, and they've adapted to the technology as it's come along. So that's pretty cool, actually. And so anyway, how can this is going to be pretty obvious, but how can people get a hold of you or get into the lynda.com world?
Lynda.com is easy, man. It's lynda.com. Our name is our website address. So every course has a few movies that you can watch for free. Make sure that you like the content, and then it's just a month-by-month subscription from there. And you get access to the entire library. It's not just my courses. It's You can branch out to Photoshop, video production, photography, business skills. You get the whole library with any membership.
Yeah, yeah, it's well worth it, guys. I mean, especially if you want to. The new software I found on lynda.com, their tutorials or their courses are a must because, like, if you're going from Final Cut Pro 7 to Final Cut Pro X, knowing the nuances and the differences is really what they do the best. So anyway, yeah, I appreciate that, Nick, and thanks for joining us again. But anyway, thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Greg Gloria, aka Social Greg on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network, where we believe in tech, startups, design, and you. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and be careful out there. Again, thanks a lot, Nick. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg.
All right.